couple of months.
Yeah.
And I know that you've been I know, because I've been trying to arrange things with you this week, and you've been chock-a-block because you've been coaching people all week. I mean, how is everybody feeling?
I think, stressed. There's no way of getting around it. This is for the first time in ever, I think, in aesthetics, that people have had to physically shut the doors. Have been ordered to stop trading. And what I'm kind of experiencing with the coaching is almost like every call I have is I don't know what to expect. So some people are generally kind of a bit, I'm okay with it. Others are experiencing feelings of grief, like loss, like real loss, like failure. Having to, furlough staff is almost like we don't know if we're ever going to see each other again, if the doors are going to open. So there's a lot of real strong emotions that I think a lot of people are feeling, especially, even you, Hayley, with, having to do what you've had to do with your sales teams as well. Everybody's feeling all of this. So we've got that. But what we, in my kind of role as a coaching is to get people through the noise, through all that kind of lizard brain stuff, the reptile brain that's going mental, lots of, emotion, lots of fear, uncertainty. Because until we kind of quieten that down, we can't plan. And it's the planning and the kind of the vision that's going to get us through the other side. So the strategy, how do we, what can we create? Okay, we can't physically open our doors, but what else can we do? Until we actually shut the noise down, the what else will never happen. So as I said, for me this week, it's been about quietening all of that down. Next week, we'll really get into sort of helping planning, strategy, how long is this going to go on for? What happens if we go on to a certain point? At what point do we run out of money? All these sorts of decent decisions that need to be made. But for the coaching aspect of it this week, it has been a lot of just kind of like getting people to breathe, almost saying that take the afternoon off. I've got to email all my clients. Okay, they'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just take the afternoon off.
People are meditating.
Yeah. Yesterday I had to. It's right. I'm done. I'm off for the mountain. I'm off out. Went out for the whole afternoon on my own. By the way, I was self-isolating, just me and a mountain bike. But you just got to do it. Otherwise, you're just going to go crazy.
I think an interesting thing with the strategy as well is I was talking to John, our managing director, about this morning, that the strategy is a little bit dependent on what the cash situation is as well. So I think it's been difficult for people to plan too far ahead because we've had this delay in information coming out from the government, and grants. We've been told that grants are available. There's a fantastic small business grant for £10,000 available, but people finding out where it's available from and then starting to go through the application process, I think has been a bit challenging. So I think people have been they've not necessarily been able to think about the strategy yet until they know what the cash flow is. But hopefully after today, that advice, the information about cash flow will become a little bit clearer. And we'll post the information about the grants, by the way, on our social media so people can have a look at those. But once people are a bit more sort of financially settled, then they can start to look at the next steps, really.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of truth in all of that. And I think you raise a really good point about where we get the information from. So I joke in AE about Angus the scaffolder. So, Angus the scaffolder was an expert in economics. He knew everything there was to know about Brexit. He's actually the Prime Minister's right-hand man. And now he's an expert in, in viruses and global trading. So, we care. There's so much noise on social media. One of the things I've also said to people is actually, you can be quite brutal. And if you've got friends out there who are basically distributing nonsense, I've just unfollowed them. I've just switched them off because it just fills your feed up with all of this rubbish. And what I want is accurate information coming from people who know what they're talking about. And so, I watch the Prime Minister's briefing every day. That's literally all I do, actually. I don't really absorb a lot more news than that. Just listen to what they said, speak to a couple of people who I know, like, and trust to help me decipher certain parts of it, and then ignore the rest of it. because you just overload yourself. And there's a couple of quick points about the quietening the monkey mind. Yeah, you have to shut all these things down before you can start to rationalize thought. Meditation, as you say, probably alcohol's probably not a great one, but it has its place. But it definitely has its place. But yeah, so thinking these things through.
Yeah. I mean, we've taken a lot of steps at Lynton. We've, like I said, I feel like we've changed a lot in the past week. We've got most of our sort of operational and HR things sorted out now. But of course we have to go into lockdown. So, we're moved into the situation where we've only got our essential services running. So obviously we support a lot of NHS customers and they still need our support at this time. But everybody else is on lockdown. And so been quite fortunate in that we've not had to make any redundancies across the team at all. So that's brilliant. And we're making use of our team that are home based at the moment and trying to generate as much content as we can. Because one of the questions we've got to address that's been asked is, how often should we be communicating with people? And the standpoint on that, following your advice last week, Richard, for me is 2 or 3 times a day. So we've gone from putting 1 social media post out per day up to 3 per day now. And that's going out on my channels. I'm varying content on my channels versus the business channels. Mm-hmm. So I think at the moment you do have to consider putting out an awful lot of content to be heard in the digital arena. I mean, communication is absolutely the key. And just making sure the messaging stays consistent and frequent.
Yeah, you're starting to break up a little bit, Hayley. I don't know if your Wi-Fi is.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think that as the Wi-Fi hamster fallen off his wheel.
Yeah.
But what I think you make a couple of points.
Well, I did waffle on for quite a long time, but essentially just communicate.
The Wi-Fi hamster just cut you off. So, but actually, what I'll pick up on that is you talk about posting, and there's a lot of questions people have, like, when do I post? What do I post? What sort of stuff do I say? I don't know what to think about. So the word I'm going to use is leadership. Okay, now that's it. If you think about that, it gives you an awful lot of content and a thing to work around. So if you're anything like me and you draw, guys, if you're listening, if you draw like mind maps or anything like that, if you just write leadership in the middle, big circle around it, and then just start to take things off from that and think about what it is that you can do. So in times like this, we need community leaders. And think about it as an online community. We need leaders. We need people giving us accurate content, as I said. We need people talking to us and helping us to chill. We need people there, teaching us how to do different things. If you take, the example of Joe Wicks, for example, his Monday morning PE sessions for the kids, he's essentially demonstrating leadership. He was supposed to be doing some sort of roadshow around schools, and he's just taking it online, and he's gone from, I think it's 500,000 viewers through to 1 million, and will continue to go. All he's doing is doing a PE session on Facebook, but he's demonstrating leadership. So if you think about yourselves and what you can do and how you can approach it, think about it from that point of view. So, for example, Lynton, and there's a comment here, I'm going to read it out. It says, it's from Jane Efford. Want to say a huge thank you to Lynton for freezing payments. Brought my first laser machine 21 years ago from you. It's a great time to look forward, plan and regroup, which we can't always do busy in the salon. So by, the actions that Lynton are taking is demonstrating leadership. You are absolutely leading the way by, the payment holiday, the communications, etc., etc. So if you're listening to this as a clinic owner, you think, right, my clients have the same challenges as I have. They're freaking out, they're panicking a little bit. It's like, what can I do? So go out and talk to them. just, communicate, tell them what's happening in your world. Yes, you've had to close the salon, but there's a lot of people who are doing, home treatment demos. Doesn't matter that there's lots of people doing it. There's only one of you to your community, so you do it. 2, 3, 4 times a day. I used to go Facebook Live probably once a day in different channels. Now it's all over the place, responding to questions, because it's all about that community building, and leadership is the key. So if you kind of put that at the center of it all, especially if you're healthcare professionals as well, you're absolutely desperately needed as sources of information.
And the Facebook group I've actually found incredibly useful to do that. So I'd highly encourage any clinic owners to try and get your customers into your own Facebook group, because you start to see your own sort of brand ambassadors, like Jane Efford there coming in and essentially giving testimonials for you and reviews, which is, it's great to get that kind of feedback from your community. And and the Facebook group does appear to, for us, have just taken off, and be a great place for people to share info.
Yeah.
We've also got quite a lot of people, obviously, like you say, doing the digital consultations and so on. And I thought it was useful to mention your Facebook group, the Aesthetic Entrepreneurs, because I noticed that a video had gone up yesterday or today showing people how to do a video consultation from Rick. So if you're not in Rich's Facebook group, the Aesthetic Entrepreneurs, then jump into that, and there's some really useful videos about how to do the actual, the digital implementation of some of these things that you might want to look at the moment.
Yeah, I just put the web link in the chat. So what we do at AE is essentially we've been kind of helping aesthetic practitioners build the businesses by inspiring you as entrepreneurs. So it's almost looking at you as, yes, the business is there, but ultimately there's a lot of owner operators who we work with, and it's upskilling you, and then there's a definition upskilling the business, and there are kind of 6 processes or steps that we go through. One is goal setting. So without knowing where you want to go, any route will get you there. So we have to set goals, which is actually quite difficult this week because they change all over the place. Once we've got a clear goal, we can have our plan. Planning manages overwhelm for me. So if I ever feel kind of stressed, anxious, whatever like that, I will sit and write a plan. Think about, what is it that I don't know that's causing the problem? There's something I don't know. I've reached the limit of my vision, limit of my knowledge. And if I don't know the answer, I will find someone who does. That is the easiest way, I think, of managing my kind of anxiety. So we plan. Then on the third part is, once we've done our plan, is we look at our culture. And this is something that I'll be coming back to repeatedly over this, and not just over the coronavirus crisis, but over business, because very few people put any thought into their business culture. And it's key, because once you've got your culture defined, you know who you're going to attract, what type of clients you want to work with, you'll attract them. So, the great testimonial there from Jane is straight into Lynton's culture. You're attracting the right people. Then once you get the people and the challenges, everyone comes to you with a problem, you have the opportunity to solve that problem. And then the last step is you convert that into revenue. So we go through these different stages. Everyone has to go through these gears, which is why you can't suddenly start off with revenue generating. The best businesses have a real foundation. And once you've built that foundation, you'll find it a lot easier to make money, but also a lot easier to pivot. So things like this happen, you've got the foundation in place to start doing it. So that's kind of what we do. So thank you for the intro into AE. And Lynton is one of our alliance partners. So, we as a group work with clients and businesses who share our own vision and values. So essentially creating a nice network of, forward-thinking practitioners, forward-thinking suppliers, and bringing them together for the good of, each other and the industry. I'll get off my soapbox now.
I think I found it incredibly useful, so I'd highly recommend it. It's been a great source of support over the week, and I think it's some of the things that you need to do, but you have some fear about them, and just listening to a group of people going through that as well and watching other people do it, it just gives you that confidence to kind of grab grab it and go for it, really. And I think that a lot of clinics will be in that situation at the moment where they've sort of got these things on the list, and as you say, there's some challenges in front of them, and you just have to kind of break that down and take each day at a time and try to get a win every day. You know, try to feel like you've achieved something each day. That's sort of been my mentality this week. I'm busy, I've got a lot on, but if there's just one thing that I can say, well, I achieved that today, I did that today, then I'm happy, and I'm ready for the next day, really, to move on. And I guess, like, our strategy, a lot of our strategy has been or is going to be free content. So if you're, and I guess this sort of relates back to vision and values and culture, if you are just pushing out a sales message at this time, I don't think that you will get as good of a response as if you are giving people genuine help and advice and free content.
You there? Can you hear me?
So
you dropped out a little bit there. I'll keep going until you come back. But yeah,
probably
Hayley,
breaking up again, aren't I?
Yeah, you are. You've dropped out a little bit there, but you're spot on. You know, I would not be selling anything at all to anybody this week. And I've switched off all of the automated responses for emails, switched them all off. While I get my head around what the new messages need to be. I know what they need to be. But you can see the companies who've got business as usual. And it's hilarious when you're watching TV ads where you've still got adverts for Burger King. Burger King shut their doors 4 days ago. You know, so why are you still putting advertising out there? I know it's on a loop and syndicated, but when you've still got companies out there who literally just still think business as usual, that's not it. You know, as we sort of said earlier, people are not focused on buying much at all at the moment. It will come back, but it's just, as you say, adding value to the, you know, helping people with the current situation is the best thing that we can do. And the reason it works for you guys is because it's inherent in your cult. It's in your DNA. You know, great comment again from Kerry about being a Lynton client for 16 years. Doesn't surprise me that you've frozen payments. Always looked after your clients in the same way that we like to look after our own clients. Good karma and energy filters down. Like attracts like. I couldn't agree more. And the companies or the people who get that grow really good businesses. It's slower because it takes more time. It does take more time. But at the end of all of this, what you've got is a business that's incredibly profitable with really, really loyal clients. And that at this sort of time is what you want. If you spent the time investing in people and building great relationships and stories, your business, yeah, of course it's going to take a hit, but it will take a hit over a longer period of time. If you are literally just all about the money and offers, and you know you don't have great customer service or don't have particularly good loyalty or retention, all of your business has literally just been turned off. It's just gone off a cliff, and you're in trouble. So you know it's you say filter, you know, good karma. You reap what you sow. All of these wonderful old sayings all have a point because they're rooted in fact.
If you imagine you sort of have to put yourself in your customer's shoes, don't you? And you imagine what they're seeing now on Instagram and Facebook, and they're seeing one clinic, you know, sort of pushing product a lot, and another clinic that's just doing some Facebook lives that are Q&A about acne, or a Q&A about laser hair removal or an injectable treatment, then you know that you can see the audience sway towards that free content. And it is like one of the things that we are very focused on at Lynton at the moment is data capture. So the more data that we have, the stronger our communications are. So we are putting out free content because we want to engage with our audience, but we've got a call to action in there that gets us an email address. And that then allows us to keep that. And obviously then it widens our communication net. So So it's a win-win situation. Customer gets a nice subject to engage with, and you get some data to then continue to build your business with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a nice trade, right? It's, there's an exchange of information one way for data. And these are, sort of things that if you're listening to this, having a think about it, is what's your exchange? What's your gift? The business model that we've always worked to is one that we call the ascending transaction model. The sales ladder is another way of looking at it. It's not so much a funnel, but we start off with essentially a free gift. And exactly as you described, Hayley, is it's designed to capture data. So something that, has a value, i.e. webinars, our Aesthetic Entrepreneurs Facebook group, information, something like that. We give quite a lot of content away. And that leads you into a very easy to consume product or service. So something that has a high amount of value that doesn't cost an awful lot of money. Mine is this, it's the book. The book costs 12 quid. Actually, most time you can get it off me for nothing if you bump into me. You go, can I have a book? I'll go, yeah, no problem. Sign it for you and give it to you. Because I don't ever take any royalties. If we take royalty payments, I always take them in books to give away. It's literally one of the best assets we have. So you might be thinking, okay, well, do I have to write a book? Ebook, you can do all sorts of stuff. You've got a unique insight, write it down, create a little online book, put it on your website in exchange for an email address. Dead easy. Then you've got the next step, which is your entry-level treatment. So it's highly unlikely that someone's going to walk straight into your business and then go and buy a couple of £1,000 treatment. It happens. At this moment in time, you don't have that to sell. So when the sort of people start looking again, what can you do that's online? Lots of different companies are out there sort of saying, okay, we could do online deliveries for different bits of skincare. I'm sure you guys are thinking about things like that as well. So there will be services and products coming online to help you. If you start scanning for that now and start thinking about what it is that you can produce, you're going to be ahead. I had a call this morning with a client. I said, most of my competitors have gone quiet. And that actually seems to be the reality. Is it's noisy for me because I have lots of people who I work with who I'm encouraging to have put videos. But go and have a look at your competitors and go and see what they're doing. And chances are most of them have gone quiet. You're probably finding that in your world as well, Hayley. There's a desert of sound. So if you're the one making noise, adding value, you're going to stand out quite easily. Yeah.
I think you will, and I think it's just a learning curve for some. I mean, some of you may be doing all of this sort of stuff already, but certainly we weren't. We only recently started to do webinars, so we've had to realign and readjust and just crack on and just get on with it really, and it's been okay. This is going okay.
You're learning fast.
We're mastering the digital skills. So with your help, we're getting there.
You're learning.
Yeah.
We've got a question.
Couple of questions then, yeah?
Yep. Do you want to shoot?
Sure. So we've got one about online training and how to add value during this time. Quite a few of you have alluded to this already, but this is such a good time to take stock and just to sit back and just to think about your business and where your perhaps development needs are and what you can do online to upskill yourself before you get back into full swing. I think the whole industry will respond with lots of online training. I know that we've just put together our first virtual classroom courses. So you can do a core of knowledge with us at the moment virtually. So it's a real sort of classroom experience. You'll be able to talk to your lecturer. You'll be able to see and talk to your other delegates as well as seeing the slides. And we're hoping to introduce new dates as well and different course topics into that program. But then we're just going to be doing lots of webinars, similar to this, some business ones, but then also lots of educational ones. So we're going to be doing laser and IPL, we'll be doing acne, vascular lesions. So there'll be plenty of support from Lynton, and I'm sure that all the other companies will also have similar things for people to do. I know you've got loads of digital support, haven't you, Rich?
Yeah, I'll just pop a link into the group, the chats. So we've, on our part of our journeys, we have done quite a lot of online courses. We developed them a while ago, which again, perfectly lucky us, eh? And we've got two courses. One's called Launchpad. There's a couple of free courses out there as well. We've got Launchpad and Platinum. And Launchpad essentially gives you a really good framework for creating a marketing platform. We walk through a bit of understanding about who you are. Some of the things that we've talked about, you know, culture and your vision and values, your culture, who your target client is. There's a module in there about how to actually do online marketing, how to actually do video, Facebook Lives and that kind of stuff. So that's pretty useful. There's some free courses on there as well, but I'm adding to them as we go. Next week, I've got a bit of clear space, so I can finally get to create some new courses and update them, which I'm very much looking forward to, actually. But yeah, I think I would, when you're looking at what sort of courses and what sort of things you want to do, again, there's a great opportunity to come up a little bit, because when we talk, other things I'm talking about now, we're looking at, this is an opportunity. Yes, I get it's, you know, humanitarian and economic disaster, but out of all of this, we're going to have, there will be a next step, there will be a future. And Hayley, you said Lynton has changed as a company already this week. Yeah, you're a more digitally focused company. You're more aware. Everyone is going to go through that kind of awakening. So it's an opportunity to kind of to renew and then rebuild. So renew, learn, totally rework your business model. You know, it may work now. You may have had it absolutely nailed down. You've got an opportunity to completely rework it, and then put into place the things that you need to execute that business model. So it might be a course on, you know, a different type of procedure. It might be a different type of business course. You know, I would, rather than just sort of going out there and randomly consuming different things, is look at a plan. Always come back to a plan. What's my business going to look like at the end of all of this? What do I want it to look like? And then backfill it with courses. And then you come out, I am going to be fully focusing on economics, because I want to understand what happens after this. So there's going to be a lot of movement at a global level in terms of, you know, how the money that is being given to us to live is going to be repaid, because it has to come back. So I want to understand how that's going to work. So that's my kind of goal, because that will help me as my business grows. So you do the same sort of thing. You with your MBA, you're now thinking, you started down that path. So, you know, I think that's the way I would approach it.
I think it's I think that's really good advice, because I've found myself wasting an hour on social media most days this week, and getting locked into looking at different courses myself online. So definitely sort of setting yourself the 3 top things that you want to upskill in, the 3 top areas, and just sticking with those and focusing on those is a really good idea.
Yeah, niche down. So cool. Got some more questions. We've done that one. Started putting out information educational posts. This week's focus is on laser and IPL. Next week will be another topic. Any thoughts on this from Katie Thompson-Ashton?
Yes, so we're hoping that actually the webinar content that we produce will inspire you to produce content that's suitable for your audience as well. So we'll have 3 or 4 webinars a week, and you can just repurpose a lot of that content for your own audience. So we'll, for example, run a seminar on acne, and you'll be able to watch that as a practitioner. It will be aimed at practitioners, but you'll then be able to digest that information and kind of, you know, repurpose it for your audience. In addition to that, we're also working right now on a 90-day social media plan for a business. So there's an awful lot of content that you can create beforehand and have that then scheduled to go out. So it just makes your life a lot easier. And so So as soon as we've got that finished, we'll issue it into our Facebook group. But yeah, that's going to be a 90-day social media plan packed full of ideas about the different things that you can talk about.
Cool. That's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I think is, there's nothing wrong with repurposing content. What I would do is, if you're doing that, is, you kind of help out the people who are giving the content. So the way I look at it is do two things. One is you take the content in, put your own spin on it, and then repurpose it, but make sure that you tag the originator of the content in. It's just a courtesy thing. So I do it a lot. Someone will make a really good comment. What I'll do is I'll take that in, I'll elaborate on why I think it's a good comment or a good post, and then I'll put it out and I'll thank them for the original post. It's a really nice way of kind of doing two things, repurposing other people's stuff, but without being totally like plagiaristic, if that's a word, but you know what I mean. Cool. There's one about GDPR. So if you give someone their email address to get the book, don't you still have to give them the option of opting out of future marketing? Yeah, you can. But at the end of the day, GDPR for me is about relevance. So I don't get into the ins and outs of it all. It's about relevance. If your marketing is relevant for the audience who are receiving it, then it's not spammy, it's compliant, they'll be happy to receive it. At the moment, if you think about all the messages you're getting that are, relevant to you, you don't see them as being spammy. What I did discover, though, is the number of email lists I'm on, because I started getting people's coronavirus response, strategies coming into my email box. I didn't even know that I was on their mailing list. So, there's an opportunity to clean it all out. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. If they logged in, taken your content, given your email address, and then they unsubscribe the next time, that's their choice. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, I would agree. We've taken the same standpoint at Lynton, that our content is relevant, and we do give people the option to unsubscribe if they want to. We've got an interesting question from Scott. I don't think we're going to have an exact answer for you, Scott, but Scott's starting a new business shortly, and he's asking when we think the dust will settle on coronavirus, and when he can start to get his message out about the new business, because he doesn't want it to get lost in all the current news or waste time now in the marketplace that isn't ready for a sales pitch.
Okay, don't do a sales pitch. So as we've sort of been saying, it's a great point. The question essentially is, when is the marketplace going to be receptive to messages? So I guess to commercial messaging is what you're sort of asking. And it all depends on what you're selling. I'd argue at the moment the market is very receptive to messages about, ventilators, dust masks, PPE, that kind of stuff. At a certain point, they will tune back in. So what I'd say to you at the moment is start to signal the fact that you're going to be doing this. So you can start putting messages out there about tattoo removal. You can start educating about all of this. And the more you put out, eventually what will happen is someone will raise their hand and go, can you tell me a little bit more about that? That's your signal that the market's ready to receive commercial messaging. We're doing exactly the same thing. All the stuff I'm throwing out is free. The content is free. There are, paid for courses, but I'm not talking about those at all, because what will happen is we'll go through and absorb all the free content, and then at some point it will be right, Rich, let's have a chat about that course. Then we're ready. So I would just apply exactly the same process. I guess you've got the same question about lasers, haven't you, Hayley? I mean, when are people going to be starting receptive to spending money on, purchasing a new laser?
I know, yeah. Funnily enough, this week we're still selling lasers now. I think
really?
It's
awesome.
Yeah, so it's been good. I think there's people have different mindset and different mentality on things, don't they? So we've taken orders, which is very heartwarming.
Good, well done. No, it's good to hear, because at least you know that there's still people out there buying stuff.
Yeah, there is. The world will recover, and also I think aesthetics will recover quite quickly, because I mentioned this to you, but everybody is looking into their cameras an awful lot more than they have been in the past, and seeing things on their face that they're not so happy with. So I know my mum in particular is freaking out at the moment and desperate to get back into a clinic the minute she can.
I think you're right. I think it is going to go mental because, you know, the challenges are still there. The reason people have these treatments are still there. It's just they've now been denied them for a while. So I think, I mean, Scott, you make a fantastic point there, and it's again, we need to start prepping and being ahead of the game. So when we do start to see that, you know, things emerging, that we're ready. You know, there may well be restrictions on, you know, distancing, etc., as we come out of this. I don't know. I don't really know how that's going to play out. You know, it was pointed out to me earlier that people are still earning, as you said, Hayley. People are still spending money. We may be in a sector that's quite unique. I don't know. That's had literally, it's been forced to close. We are all done. You know, so that might be quite a unique, you know, business issue. So there are people out there still earning. So when the you know, the doors start to open again, if you've been the one who's been communicating consistently, if you've been the one who's been adding value, sharing the messages, sharing the love, putting your ebooks together, doing your videos, doing your Facebook lives, you know, for thinking at this time, why am I doing this? Not, you know, then all of a sudden, bang, can I book in? Do you have a process ready to book people in? Automated process, take the bookings, take the money, book them in. You know, that's where I would be starting to think about it as well. What's my business strategy looking like? So I say, reinvent the business. All these things that you didn't have the time to do, now you can do them.
Yeah, exactly. Good advice.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, Hayley, if I may, from your list.
Please do.
Right. So you mentioned about calling people. So one of the things we were talking about earlier is about, you know, how you know, we can stay in contact with our customers, and you suggesting actually just physically get on the phone and ring them.
Yep, definitely. I would. We are actually. So there's quite a lot of the Lynton team that are not on watching this webinar because we've tasked them with calling every customer that we have and just being there to have a chat, you know, with them, let them know about the payment freeze. But it's something that you know, our director, he wanted to make sure that we were having that personal touch and that communication, and the response that we've had to that has been overwhelming. You know, people have been so thankful that we've taken the time, and I know some of the people in our team have become like counselors, you know, during this week, as I know you have as well. But people are very, very ready to engage with people at the moment, and if you have a client list, then it is an opportunity to just pick up the phone and see how someone's doing. And that really, your culture shines through if you take those steps to look after your customers.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's there's a lot of people with time to answer the phone, and you know, in my my early sales career, I sold digital printing. Who the hell wants to sell printing, you know? But I did pretty well, and the reason I did pretty well is because I realised that the decision makers I wanted to speak to on a Sunday morning were generally stood either next to a football, a hockey, or a rugby pitch, and they would speak to anyone who rang them. And so that's when I rang them. And I would have conversations with the CEOs and the directors of the company who literally make decisions, have meetings the following week, because I got them when they had time to spare. At the moment, people have got time to spare. So yeah, take advantage of it. You could also, things like Facebook Messenger and text and things like that. But I totally agree with you. If you do a human-to-human contact right now, you're generating bucket loads of goodwill, and it's not exploitative either, because you genuinely care how people are doing. You know, we want to have an industry at the end of all of this, so you know, definitely get on the phone and do it.
Andrea has asked us about a tip for looking good on camera. I think we can help with this one because we are working at the moment at getting a Lynton screen behind everybody. You might know how to do this actually, Rich, but this could be something that we pop into the Facebook group for you. So you can upload photos behind yourself, can't you, in the Zoom and the
with certain PCs you can do. Yeah, I'm not making any comment on that whatsoever. I don't know is the answer. I leave that totally in Hayley's hands. She looks fabulous. I'm sitting here.
We've got a team of people at the moment. You know, they're at home with their kitchens and their cats and everything in the background.
Yeah, I'll worry about. Have you seen the newsreaders? I hadn't even noticed actually, but apparently because of the lack of contact on Facebook on makeup, that the newsreaders' perfect standards are starting to drop a little bit. Yeah, everyone go and check it out. But yeah, I think Andrew's mentioned as well.
Look good on camera, makeup.
How to
That's
look
what you
camera.
need.
Ask Hayley.
Makeup.
So Andrew, this is the first Zoom and online webinar. I think it's brilliant. Thank you. So thank you very much. I can see this being a future time. Any thoughts on how to keep online content interesting and engage well? Yeah, I have. Ask your clients. So at any point I don't know what to say, I run out of things or topics, you just go and ask your customers, what would you like to know? Is there anything that's bothering you? If you always go back to the point of what's the problem you're trying to solve, you'll have so much content you know what to do with. And it's all and then it's all relevant. So polls, that's what you need to do, is this whole process of engagement with your clients. Ask them, what's the biggest problem you've got at the moment? Okay, I'll do something on that. And that could give you a week's worth of content.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts, Hayley? With people talking about your amazing hair, your salon standard hair. How do you do this?
Get up at 5 a.m.
I see. Just going back to that point about what content there is, I can see a Hayley Jones webinar coming up purely about, hair makeup standards ready for a digital for virtual consultation.
Thank you.
That's all right.
And I think, we may finish up on this point that Kerry's made. I think it's a really nice one. She just wants to say that she feels that people should try and really make the most of some of this free time and really be in the moment with whatever you're doing. I think that's a really nice sentiment to consider at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was reading.
I know that Kerry's one of our customers, and she's a workaholic. So she's just encouraging us all to enjoy a little bit of a break.
I think we have to kind of give ourselves permission, I think, to do that. There's so much that we can't control, right? And we're all, we're on this call because we're all, focused, driven, committed, business owners, entrepreneurs, probably very unforgiving of ourselves, work ourselves probably a little bit too hard. And you're absolutely right, Kerry. I think one of the things that maybe we're going to have to relearn, one of the courses that we can do is how to dial it down a little bit. I think maybe that's one of the things, the positive things that will come out of this horrible time is that we all do just ease back just a little bit, more time for family, more time for friends, appreciate physical contact a little bit more. Yes, it's moved on to a digital world, but for a lot of us, I think this is quite a novelty. This is my life, by the way. This is what I do. I spend my life talking to a camera. I'll take a photograph of it and post it so you can see what I spend my life talking to. But, when we get out of all of this, there's a real world for us all. And I just think that hopefully we appreciate it a little bit more. I'm going to start welling up in a minute. I think we should end this.
Yeah. They think there's going to be a baby boom on the other side of this as well, don't they?
I don't think it's in any sort of discussion whatsoever. There's absolutely going to be a baby boom. Absolutely going to be a baby boom. But I think short term, we've just got to stay safe. To say, you know, just try and relax a little bit, as Kerry said, and then next week, week after, when we feel ready, start the planning strategy, you know, how we can help, and you know, myself, you know, and Hayley and the guys are all here to help you do that.
Yeah. Thank you ever so much, Richard. That was fab.
My absolute pleasure. Like I said, I'm in the group. If anybody wants to, you know, reach out, AE is where I am as well a lot of the time. So any questions, anything you need to know more on, feel free to ask. I'm here.
And I'm
not going anywhere.
We're always great. Yeah, none of us are at the moment, are we? And
no.
Thanks to all our lovely customers for all your lovely feedback. That was really nice. So thank you for that. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.